Hi, and welcome back to the Mortgage Broker broadcast. My guest this week is Mark Grant from the Fiducia Group. Mark at Fiducia is the director of the commercial broking arm as well as the AR network. And what Mark's going to do is the reason why I wanted to get Mark onto the podcast was so he could explain really the options that mortgage brokers have with regards to commercial referrals. So you've got the commercial broking arm of Fiducia, where you can refer your commercial opportunities to. But then there's also the other part, which I wanted to explore as well, which is another option where you can actually have and become an AR of Fiducia yourself. So you're really part of the network and you are a commercial broker. So just about options, just to explain those different options, and also as well for Mark to get across him, like what his values are, and also what importantly as well is the values of the Fiducia Group. So yeah, let's just get Mark onto the podcast. So welcome to the podcast, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Thank you. Good to have a chance to talk today.
No, good. I'm excited and looking forward to it, to be fair, Mark. I think, as always, I'm always sort of excited about talking to people that we've had a brief message backwards and forwards just about various things, but we've never really sort of sat down and explored more about you and your role within Fiducia and just getting to know you more, and obviously what you do with regards to Fiducia within the Fiducia Group. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to know you a lot more, and what you do and how you do it and why you do it, and the rest of it. And hopefully it'll be quite painless and quite relaxed and informal, so hopefully it won't be too bad.
No, perfect. It's good, and it's a lot better doing it in this way than it was. I think my experience of networking online during COVID, where you got 45 seconds to explain everything that you did. You're giving me a little bit more time than that, so thank you very much.
Yeah, there's no speed dating on this show, Mark. Definitely not. I think it's just important to people to get to know you and what you're about. And if we're looking at, we're obviously going to get onto brokers and the relationship you have and the options you have from a broker's point of view. I think it's just important that people to get to know you, to understand your personality, and you can't do that in 45 minutes unless you're really good. You can't. I've never believe you can get that across in 45 seconds. Sorry, not 45 minutes, 45 seconds.
Yeah, I can't even get out all the product lines that I cover in 45 seconds. So it always used to be very confusing for everyone, including me.
That's fine. Yeah, people can put it on fast forward and speed up the podcast and get it flipped through. But yeah, we're not going to try and aim to do 45 seconds today, so don't worry about that. So first of all, thank you very much for agreeing to come on the podcast. Like I say, I'm very interested and excited about hearing more about you and Fiducia. But first of all, do you want to just give us a brief introduction about you and obviously your role within Fiducia?
Yeah, I guess it's a kind of a career criminal in financial services. I started from school into financial services in London, doing my apprenticeships in the back offices of banks and brokerages, and I've worked as a broker for 30 years. So I've always been used to being on the coalface. I worked in fixed income and credit markets, ran brokerages, businesses, and later in my kind of London city type career, progressed to a bit more of the commercial side of that and looked at how we actually sold out data, information, systems, etc. to third parties. A lot of my clients were investment banks, but there's a lot of people around the country and around the world that needed information about what it was that was going on in the markets that I worked in. I think I got to the point of a kind of a career change in the year before COVID came along, with a friend that was starting up a commercial finance brokerage, probably not so much property based, maybe a little bit more working capital, kind of business loan type. But it put me in a situ where I was in the industry where COVID broke out, and I enjoy being. I've been a broker for a long time. I enjoy being on the coalface. I'm very used to dealing with a really diverse range of people. I like dealing with people that run companies and trying to help them take it. Every I don't know who gets the cream buns in commercial finance. It's not generally anywhere I work. So everything's a challenge and a problem and a curveball and whatever. I like dealing with those. It's been extremely satisfying being able to help people during COVID. It's just as satisfying now being able to help people when they realise maybe lending conditions are easing a little bit and so on. So that I've been with Fiducia the last year. So that kind of brought me to where I am with them. They've been established in commercial finance for what is a reasonably long time, 16 years, and as a financial services group, a bit longer than that at 20 years. But it's an evolving world. I'm used to working in an evolving environment with brokers. I think that commercial finance brokers are probably got to get used to working with a bit of a hybrid model moving forward. Yes, there's definitely value that brokers can add, but we're going to need a bit of technology. It's not commoditized maybe as residential market is. There's no mortgage brain for commercial, but there's definitely, we need to be assisted by technology to be able to get the best outcomes. But I think, if anything, that I've brought everything that I did for much of those 30 years in the city was on a phone. It wasn't on a screen, and it was relationship. It was really, giving a hoot about the outcome for the clients, etc. That's what got the clients coming back. I do care. It's not just a strap line. I do care about the outcome of the people that we work with. I try and instill that in the brokers that work around me. Unfortunately, I would say, actually, it does differentiate you from some of the market in commercial. There's a lot of people that just pile them high. It's volume, it's transactions, get them through. Who pays us the most? I'm very sad to say that that's still, the bad side of what maybe goes on in some areas of the market. We're directly FCA authorised. My CEO was chair of the NACFB for a couple of years, right at the time where they were putting kind of what customers are getting charged right at the forefront of everything. And I buy into all that. We kind of package that all together. That kind of probably brings me to the desk every day, and we try to kind of live by those standards that we set ourselves.
I think it's interesting to say, like, one of the thick comments on there was I've got a little bit of understanding about commercial. I think the thing that struck me learning more about it was that the technology is so different to, I don't believe like the technology in the mortgage broking world is anywhere where it needs to be right now. And the technology will be there, and it is coming through. But like you said, the quote you said was, there is no mortgage brain for commercial broking. There isn't, is there? There is nothing. You can't, like, because I know mortgage brokers that refer to commercial brokers, and it's a matter of doing old school, ringing round, doing your research, and then because there is just no sort of like tapping a few things onto a mortgage brain or Trigold or whatever and coming back with, right, there's your list of lenders, there's offering the best deal, there's offering that. It's just totally different world to that, isn't it?
I think it is. And I think if I really tried to nail down why exactly that might be, the fact that there isn't a mortgage brain for commercial isn't because someone who's very clever with tech hasn't just come up with it. That's not the case. I think underneath commercial, the criteria is all based around a company, and every company is unique. Underneath every residential mortgage, there is a person. That person's going to have a job or not have a job. They're going to have a certain level of income or they're not. But the actual people behind the lending requirement are a lot more commoditized in residential mortgages than they are in commercial. There are so many more moving parts with a commercial deal. So, we had the original, Fiducia, the royal we, sorry. Fiducia had the original sourcing system in commercial called Optimus, which my CEO is very proud of, quite rightly. But obviously, once we got to something like an event like COVID, what happened was the lending criteria for every commercial lender out there literally got torn up. And he probably could have torn ours up because we used to send out a spreadsheet with X hundred amount of criteria points, ask them to fill it in, etc. But suddenly, kind of a certain very large lender just wouldn't be lending to owner-occupier. They'd look at commercial investment, but not owner-occupier businesses. No one on the high street would lend to hospitality. I could bore you with the kind of the five main high street banks and what their appetite is for commercial investment properties. Two of them are just shut for it. Two of them want 4 or more properties. Another one, if there's 30% or more of it is retail, they're not interested. Most of them won't lend to offices. Now, you compare that to a spreadsheet that we had in February 2020, it's totally different. So it's amazing how difficult it is when you've got a sourcing system, and we might mention later on something like our kind of AR network proposition and so on, but we've told people they've got that. They might not be so experienced in commercial themselves, and suddenly you're saying, that thing we gave you a login for 6 months ago is now obsolete. We're just ringing around the lenders now to trying to get those spreadsheets done. So I think there's various reasons. There's a lot of moving parts. But bottom line, I think it comes down to there are people behind a resi mortgage, and there are companies which are very complex beasts. Even small companies are very complicated behind a commercial.
Do you think that I'll ever get back to the ease of technology like you had before? Do you ever think we'll ever get back to that, or do you think it's just this is the way that it is now for the foreseeable future?
I think that it will. There will be elements of this that will come in, and every market, doesn't matter whether it's a mortgage market, any type of financial market, there are certain parts of it which become more commoditized sooner than others. So, for example, limited company buy-to-let, we are on portals. We're using kind of portal applications, probably don't look too different. There's a different underlying credit risk for the people. It might be limited company, it might be portfolio landlords, etc. But we're using that same portal technology that you might be as a resi broker keying that in. I would say that investment properties compared to owner-occupier will be the next big divide with technology, and the sense that just like a buy-to-let, a commercial investment is based on the covenant and the strength of the lease. So therefore, there aren't so many moving parts as there are when you've got an actual trading business moving in there. When you've got a trading business, you really just got to analyse the complete accounts. It's right down to how much is the director, how much is he going to get nagged to go on holiday next year and take dividends? How much is, what's going to happen with your energy bills? What's going to happen? None of that is a factor necessarily when you're looking at a commercial investment. It's all down to the strength of the lease that you've got in place.
Right, okay. Do you want to just sort of give a brief overview of, because obviously you are, like Fiducia is a group, so there's planning, commercial, corporate, and regular resi stuff as well. So do you want to give an overview of the group, and then more specifically, and that's what we're going to get down to, is sort of like the two business models really, that in terms of a referral to you, or then look at the AR side of things. So can you just give us an overview first of all on Fiducia, Mark, and then drill down to the commercial side, which is what you're part of and what you're driving.
Definitely. So the group, I think it was actually a week, or I should know, my director will kill me, but I think it was a week or 10 days ago, we turned 20. But we turned 20 and we were one of the inaugural partners or practices, on the Open Work Partnership. So that we are within the Fiducia Group, we are an open work practice, and that is on the regulated side of things. So that is on financial planning, on the pension side, on the regulated mortgages, and that side of the business, say 20 years. And it is conveniently, literally by Chinese walls of regulation, completely hived off from what we do on the commercial side of things. So, I mean, as a group as well, as an aside, we also, we run business centres. We run the one that we kind of work in, and others in our region in the East Midlands. But the Commercial Solutions arm started up 16 years ago now. As I say, that's no time at all in any other type of market. Within commercial finance, that is a reasonably long time for a brokerage to be running. That started, I think, for all, for most of that time, we have been on the product wheel of the Open Work Partnership as one of a small number of people that commercial finance cases can be referred off to. Beyond that, we obviously have direct introducer relationships as well. I think what we've always done within commercial is, apart from the fact that we are directly FCA authorised and we have to do these things, but in the sense of fairness and integrity, what we offer every single broker on the Open Work Partnership is the same as we offer anyone that has any other type of introducer relationship with us. So we pay the same fees to a one-man band, to a chartered accountants, or to an open work practice, and that's just kind of blanket, and it keeps it a very level playing field. And I think that's it just helps to not overcomplicate things from that perspective. We work ultimately, we work with historically it's been very, very property based. That's what the Open Work Partnership were generally feeding through in terms of relationships that residential practices had. They would have commercial property or complicated specialist type buy-to-let requirements or bridging requirements or development requirements. So everything was very kind of property based for a large number of years. I would say within the last 12 months, certainly. I think that what I've tried to do is just to make what I know we have done. We work with a broad range of commercial finance now as well. So outside of just the property that I've mentioned, we also access all other types of commercial finance that a trading business might want to access over their lifetime. So that's everything from unsecured business loans, the government loan schemes, asset finance, so that's everything from yellow goods to big plant and machinery in factories to vans and cars, etc. Invoice finance. We've done quite a bit in trade finance over the last year, where the well-publicised supply chain problems have caused people financial issues. I think that this is something that we do. This is something that not everyone does with us, obviously. The majority of our business is still in commercial property and commercial finance related to property. But it's there if people need it. It's there. It's an option for people to have. And the way that we work with introducers is exactly the same as kind of from the open work partnership or from another mortgage network to a chartered accountant. That we do treat it. We work with the introducer as to pick up the heavy lifting. We can take a name, number, and email address, not even know what it is that they want, to having the full fact-finding information and the introducer wanting to stay involved. We can work with people exactly as they need to. You don't get to do this for 16 years, 15 years with open work, or you don't really get to do it for that many months if you drop the ball. You know, we're very conscious that anyone you hand over to us is your relationship. And accountants probably fall into the same sort of kind of bracket, I would say, as resi mortgage brokers. You've got good relationships with your clients. There are periods of time during the year or every few years you're spending a lot of time with these clients. You get to know them quite well. It's a concern probably to hand them over, because anything that goes wrong is going to reflect on you. We realise that, and we also know we won't get another referral if we drop the ball. So, you know, that's something that we're very conscious of with that. And I think sorry,
Mark. So no, go on. Sorry, no, Mark. No, go on. No, sorry, Mark.
I was just going to say what that naturally feeds into over time is that people that we work with quite regularly, and there comes a point where they're seeing a lot of commercial business. So what we did in consultation with the Open Work Partnership and with the FCA was later in 2019, we opened up a commercial appointed rep network. This works under dual authorization, so that you can have a company that is still NAR, for example, of the Open Work Partnership or another mortgage network, but they can have, with us commonly, it's under a separate limited company. You can have arrangements where it's with the same limited company, but essentially under a dual authorization, they're also authorized to do commercial finance through another part of their business. And as I said, this is where, you're referring cases over. There might be multiple cases per week, etc. It just becomes the point where, so long as you can resource it and have got the time to do it and are not dropping the ball on what you're doing in the day-to-day work that you're already doing, it becomes financially viable to actually do this separately. And in fact, it probably makes more sense to do it that way if you're paying away so much of the the potential earnings that you would have from cases. So that's started November 19, rudely interrupted by COVID, like everything was in March 20, but that's picked back up again. We've signed up 3 new practices this year already, and we're in conversations with several more. So it's that's another big area of priority for us.
I think it's good to because it all goes back to service and trust, like you said before, and think there's loads of things in there that you've said that are like going through my head thinking, I want to explore that more and understand that more. And I think from a business perspective, you've been clear and you give clarity with regards to, yes, you are part of Open Work Partnership, but however, there are firms that work with you that aren't within Open Work and the Open Work Partnership, like various other networks or directly authorised and things like that. I think the thing is with it is that you're giving brokers options. So I think first thing is the trust. So I've got a commercial opportunity. I don't have an agreement or a referral agreement set up with anybody, and I'm just letting that client go out into the marketplace from a commercial point of view. The next minute, I've lost the residential mortgage, I've lost the protection, I've lost all the things in the relationship I have because I've let them go out into the marketplace and be poached, for want of a better word, from another business or brokerage. But I think you've given clarity that actually this is very distinct with mortgage services and the financial planning. Commercial is a totally different aspect of the business. Is very much about building relationships, building trust. You're absolutely right. It is about the mortgage brokers out there are building their own brand, working hard to get leads, working hard to get business, and then handing it. They're sort of there with the mitts firmly around this client, and then they're just you're trying to prize the. I'm not saying that you are, but you're just trying to then think, actually, you do need to refer them. Where do I refer them? Where to start? Where do I start doing that? And it's handing over somebody that they feel that they know and trust, who's going to treat them. It's like any introduced agreement. Like, I know quite a few mortgage brokers that work with estate agents. It's just the same thing, handing over those clients and the referrals. You want them to be treated the way that you expect them to be treated, and that you would treat your client in the first place, which is really great to hear. That you don't, it's not just a number from your point of view. It's not just getting a deal over the line. It's about treating the client, whether that's a referral from a mortgage broker or a sole trader or whoever, to somebody that comes to you from a commercial solution point of view, direct to you. You treat them with that client with the same respect, the same trust, the same rapport, the same relationship. It doesn't really matter where that client's come from. They get the same experience, whether it's open work partnership, whether it's another network or somebody coming direct to you. It's very much about the service that client expects and should be receiving.
Yeah, I think we put the contract where our mouth is as well. I mean, the introducer agreement that we have, as well as our pay away, if you like, or our financial agreement with any introducer to us. We have the same contract, be you be an introducer agreement, be you an open work partnership practice or a chartered accountant or another network. That all says the same thing. And I think might be section 3 or whatever it is. I can't remember that, but we have a no cross-selling clause in there very, very clearly. We don't do protection ourselves. We might do resi mortgages in another part of the business, but most people that refer to us do resi mortgages. We're not here to cross-sell and step on anyone's toes. I do understand it's very difficult to, it would take us forever to go out and convince everyone that we're trustworthy and, trust me, I'm a broker. I mean, that doesn't even sound right. But it's, I'm hoping that it doesn't take too long of people talking to us. It certainly won't take too many clients that they refer to realise that, things aren't a strapline. We look for the most suitable. We share a desire to get the most suitable outcome for the clients. We're not driven by how much we get paid. We are there for a suitable outcome, because we also realise within commercial finance, someone might want a property to invest in now. Someone might want, a trading business property now, etc. They're also going to want something else at a later point in time. We have to think ahead and kind of pay ahead, even if that means spending more time now on a case which might not pay so much. It's a longer term relationship. We will invest in that. But I think what's also important to we see the variety. What staggered me, I think, from joining a master broker that had big network relationships nationally was the range of opportunities requirements that we get past. And we will literally we will get sent through as many £50,000 to £100,000 trading business requirements as we will do £750,000 to £1 million. And to that business, it matters just as much. And we're not here to say, do you know what, that guy's more important because he's got an extra zero, and if just the whole thing's like 7.5 times the size of you. That's not what we're about. It matters just as much to that business to own the property that that they've been leasing, because that means it secures their home. They can stay in the place they might have been trading out of for 15, 20 years, etc. All that goodwill, all that footfall that knows they're there. If they went something else, the whole business might pack up. That means just as much to a big manufacturing company or other type of business that wants to buy their kind of near or kind of 7-figure place. So, and let's face it, as we all know, as a broker, it takes just as long to work that case as well. So it's the same thing. As you say, that everyone gets the same. And I think that's, we do that, even go down to that. I talk about these sort of things in training with ARs as they come on board with us. But we tell them how we act, and we say to them, these aren't just things, our ethos and how we work with people isn't just something you'll hear from me and see at the footer of our website. We expect you to act like this as well. We're vouching for you with the FCA. We're giving you our permissions, but you're kind of carrying Fiducia out there. You're working with the same lenders under the Fiducia banner, under the umbrella. We expect, this is the right way to do business. It will reward you. It might be a little bit organic. It might take a little bit of time to build with some customers until they come back, etc. but this doing business the right way will reward you in the long run.
No, definitely. I think it will. I think, like you say, it does. It's understanding that the process does take a little bit longer than the normal process. And from a client's point of view, these do take that. From a client point of view as well, it's the client generally that the process takes a little bit longer from their side as well with commercial lending. But I think if you understand that from a mortgage broker point of view, I think that's probably a good point. Then now we're going to come on to the AR part of it. What you talked about a little bit there, Mark, but just so I can understand from a mortgage broker's point of view, if I'm looking at referrals and referring my potential commercial clients to Fiducia, what's the sort of process I would expect as a broker, and what sort of process would my client expect?
I think the referring broker can kind of set the tone of it in the terms of they would let us know whether everything has to go through them first of all or directly with the client. To be perfectly honest, the best cases are the ones, we do need to talk to the clients at some point or another quite soon anyway, but the best ones are the ones where, for the client's benefit, there's not someone else in the middle, etc. We can deal directly, we can move quicker. I think it ties back into what you were saying earlier about just not realizing sometimes how little technology plays a part and so on. I think if you look at the highest quality lenders in our market, when someone refers into us, if you're a trading business, which is good to go to the high street, they are the least technology driven of all our lenders. So that really will be, it could be a phone call to say, look, by the way, I'm just going to send this through, but it will certainly be an email with a pitch, with a couple of years accounts on there, with a set of requirements and details of the property. I mean, that's what's going into a national commercial director at the biggest banks in the country. That's what we do with forward. So it is that sort of thing. I think that the experience up front for people at the moment is, what's changed during COVID is we used to maybe be able to run our finger down a product guide and say, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, they'll be good for that. We know that. Some numbers look okay. We can adjust the EBITDA. It all works. That's fine. We're doing a lot more of the sourcing up front that we might have done behind the kind of engagement and application wall previously. So what we're not a broker that quotes a rate. And then when you say, yeah, okay, great, my customer's going to go for it, we think, oh, bugger, we've got to go scrambling now and find out where that rate's coming from. I want something, it's obviously still got to go through credit assessment, but I want something that's viable for you as a client, as it were. So things long story short, things can take a little bit longer up front. When you introduce a client over, we might want a couple of years accounts for a trading business. We might want full transparency of what lease details are, because it's all down to affordability. Bottom line, doesn't matter what kind of mortgage it is, can we prove affordability? You can get into the real nitty gritty later, but if we can do that, we'll indicate terms. We'll just make it on a nice, simple email. You can pass that to the client. We could be talking to the client already. If the client says, yeah, okay, we agree that, we're fully transparent about all the fees, everything else that's involved in it, then we'd get some paperwork over to the client and get the kind of engagement rolling from there.
Okay, and in terms of from a mortgage broker point of view, like I say, it is ideal that you're dealing with a client, you're dealing with their client, and it just streamlines the process as much as you possibly can. I'm guessing from a mortgage broker point of view, are they kept updated with regards to where things are at in terms of the documents or anything like that? From a client, from a update from you asking the client for documents, getting those back, what part of the process they're in, and things like that from a client relationship with you. As the referring mortgage broker, do I kept updated on the progress of that referral as well?
I think you get updated on the progress of it. You probably wouldn't want to be updated on the nitty gritty back and forward and so on and so forth. I would say 90% of our cases work along the lines of, there's an initial call between myself and the mortgage broker, which is okay, so just to make sure you understand, this is what I meant in my email. The client knows you're going to be calling, and I go off and get on with it. I do then let them know, I'll go back and say, good news, we have been able to indicate support for the client. It's over with the client. I'll let you know, because it could be the mortgage broker wants to check back with them at that point. If the client progresses, I'll let them know it's going to application. I'll let them know if there's any hitches. I'll let them know if I think they might have some information to hand that they could give me without me having to chase the client for it. I'll just keep them updated. That's 90% of the cases. Some people want to remain involved all the way through. Others don't want to hear about it until it's well down the line. But 90% of the cases will kind of run with that.
Right.
And I think especially with first, second, or kind of, where we haven't worked with people so much, etc., it's a bit of a comfort. They don't have to worry about whether the client's getting looked after, if they're getting even if I've got nothing to say, I might just send an email on a Friday saying, look, just so you know, it's kind of progressing along as its usual slow pace, but it's still in the process, etc. I've talked to the client.
I think that's it. It's just knowing that it sort of doesn't really need to know to the nitty gritty, but just knowing that it's progressing and the conversation there. Because if the client does come back to the broker, the mortgage broker, then if the mortgage broker is aware, like if discussions start about the resi mortgage or the protection, it's like, oh, how are things going with the commercial guys and things like that. Then at least if the mortgage broker is aware, it just sort of feels as though it's like because that's what I'm guessing that it's more, certainly from my experiences, that if it seems a streamlined process of, you get the inquiry, yes, I'm going to refer to our, like the royal we, as you said before, our commercial broker. It just sort of like seems as more of a seamless, streamlined synergy going on between you and the referrer. So it just makes the relationship look a lot better from a mortgage broker point of view, also from a client's point of view as well, that everything's in unity and working together towards that same common goal.
I think so. And I think I try and kind of set the bar that if the mortgage broker ever has to ask the client how progress is going, then I'm doing something wrong. If the mortgage broker is always pretty much aware, they might not be aware of something that's happened in the last day or two, but if they're generally aware of where things are and don't have to ask the client, then we're probably where we should be with it.
Definitely. So then moving on, which is, you talked a little bit before, and I just want to explore more about the AR proposition. So I'll obviously let you explain it in a second, Mark, but I'm thinking, like, from a mortgage broker point of view, I might be generating quite a few commercial referrals, sending quite a few clients over to you, and then at that point thinking, do you know what? I want to grow. I've got a few mortgage brokers now. We're creating a bit of interest from a commercial point of view. I want to then stop referring to you as a third-party referral, but then more have my own commercial broker in the business, in-house. That's your AR proposition. Do you want to explain a lot more about that, Mark?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, as you say, you've got to think about it from a commercial perspective. It's got to be at the time where you have the resources and the time to do it, or as you say, you're a kind of a growing practice, and you've got the ability to put a commercial in, or someone's dedicated towards the commercial side, maybe. What we offer as a AR network is we offer the wrapper of everything that you need. So, I mean, I would expand on the fact that it's not just for resi brokers to do under dual authorization. There are commercial brokers out there that aren't FCA authorized, and they will come to us and join. There are people out there in other areas of financial services or finance, and they will come over as well. So, everyone will be, I guess, familiar with the concept of the AR network. From our perspective, we try and kind of build around the basics and offer a lot more. So the basic pillars of what we do is we offer the FCA authorization, the consumer credit license under our umbrella. We offer PI insurance for commercial finance, which, as a former kind of one-man band, I think in 2019, 2020, PI insurance premiums went up by about 300-400%. So, I was paying a lot of money just for that on its own. We're fully invested in the NACFB, the National Association of Commercial Finance Brokers. As I said earlier, I think my CEO was chair for a couple of years. It's a great resource, not only for someone like ourselves who've been in the market for a while, but for someone new coming into it. There's a lot of CPD on there. There's a lot of opportunity to network and actually hear from lenders. And get a lot of information about the commercial finance market as well. Beyond that, though, of course, you get that kind of wrapper where, even if you've got someone hired in to do it, or you might be a one-man band that's kind of doing this on the side, etc., we then start doing a lot of stuff for you. We do your compliance reporting for you. So, you're not DA, you are an AR, obviously, so you leave a lot of that stuff to us. We provide you with a CRM system. We'll let you know on cases what it is that we need to be uploaded to tick off the compliance boxes. You do that, you tell us a case is finished, and that's once we've checked that, that's the trigger for the kind of payment that comes out from the case to you. We provide a sourcing system. We've talked about the trials and tribulations of trying to keep that up to date, but we do provide that, and that's something we're actually overhauling completely and replacing at the moment, but we are permanently going back out to our lenders and getting the criteria that they lend under updated. We have a finance function in our group anyway, but that finance function is offered to the ARs. So you act directly with our lenders, but all of the kind of the payments, the invoicing, etc., comes from us. We then pay that back out to yourselves. So you're operating under the kind of mini network. We have system support for when you can't get into the above mentioned systems. We have admin support. There's lots of, I talked to a resi broker who'd been a resi broker for a very long time, and he said he still felt he was probably only 65, 70% through the process of getting login details for every single lender's portal and everything else. It's a permanently ongoing thing. And just when you think you've probably reached the top of the mountain, someone's going to go and change your portal or change the way you log in.
You'll never get there.
We've got that sort of admin support. I think when we launched the network, we might have said our sourcing system was a USP, given the fact that no one out there, no matter what they say to you, we've got a system, it's got all the lenders' criteria. No, they haven't, because I know several lenders changed criteria this week. It's a very moving target at the minute. I think one of the biggest USPs we've got as a business to our ARs is the fact that we do the same thing they do. With my many hats, the biggest hat I wear is kind of broking. And, myself and my colleagues on the broking business side of the team, ARs can pick up the phone and say, look, especially in the earlier days of doing this, I've got this case, it's got wrinkles, don't they all? But, where would you go with this? Where's the first three lenders you would pick up the phone to? And we will talk through cases with people. We don't, we support businesses as they come into it, but we work with people later on as well. And I think that's a big part of it. We're not a franchise. We don't charge a big lump sum up front. We don't charge training fees. When you are authorised by the FCA and when you're insured and when you've dotted I's, crossed T's with our compliance and finance teams, at that point you're live, and there's, then our kind of contractual way that we work with you kind of kicks in. But there's nothing up front. That's not what we're about here. We do see it as far more of a collaboration and partnership. And I think that's the big, strong kind of USP from my point of view. I get, unfortunately for me, I think I'm signed up to all 146 lenders on our panel. So I get a lot of information coming into the inbox. But that means that not all of them will be, especially in the early days. But there's also, for me, as I said earlier, I think as well, we try and think outside the box. Some people come in for an unsecured loan. They might walk out with a second charge mortgage on a property they haven't even thought about doing, because why would they think about that for business purposes? Well, okay, actually, it's just worked out to be half the price of any other funding that you might be able to access, etc. So we do think outside the box, and I think it's great to be able to, I think that some of them might have me on spam block already, but I send this stuff out to the ARs on a kind of 1, 2, 3 times a day basis where it's interesting. A lot of them will be signed up to the main lenders themselves. I won't just forward everything through, but sometimes there's just a different way of thinking about things. I send that all out. A couple of times a month, we organise a webinar, not just for us internally with one of our lenders, but we do this for all of the ARs and with people that we're talking that are very close to becoming ARs. You learn so much more from half an hour to 40 minutes with a lender on a line, getting a chance to offer, kind of ask questions, etc., than you would do just reading through 2 or 3 PDF product guides. It's a bit like a case study, just brings everything to life rather than just a set of bullet points on a product guide. But actually listening to these BDMs and talking it through that's great, and it's a great chance for us to get the ARs all together as often as we can. With the network, the guys on the network talk to the same lenders I do, the same BDM at a bank, the same BDM at a specialist or a bridging lender, etc. These guys are invested in helping them. The thing about a network is that, when they talk to me, they realise that I've got X amount of companies behind me as well. They're all individual commercial finance businesses. So it doesn't really matter whether me, Mark Grant, actually brings anyone along in a business this week. If they pitch themselves well, and if they make an effort with me, then I'm pitching this on to other people. They make an effort with the newest AR we've got in the same way they will us as a business. So you've immediately got someone at one of the main high street banks or one of the biggest development lenders that's got a vested interest to actually spend a bit of time on the phone, talk through cases, etc. As I say, hands up from a one-man band previously, I don't think I could get Barclays or NatWest or whoever it was to give me the time of day. That's once I'd actually got round to finding who the right person was to talk to about a particular thing. we've got a national director that's got a vested interest to pick up the phone. And I think that's the benefit. You punch above your weight as an AR, as a one-man band, let's say, for instance. I appreciate we have bigger practices join us as well, but no matter how you come into it, we've got the right sort of support. But ultimately it's very collaborative. We're not rigid. If you come in, you say, this is all great, but I really want, the client has always dealt with this lender. I've always seen this lender as the place to go for it. We'll go off to that lender. We'll tell you to get on with the business. Meantime, we'll talk to that lender and get people added onto panel. We're not very rigid and insistent that what we've got is good enough and you just fit in with that. I think we try and make it custom for all of our ARs as they join on.
Which is really important, like the support side of things, as you said, like if you're becoming a commercial broker for the first time, you want to be in an environment where you actually feel as though you're supported and part of something. Even though you would represent, you're an AR, you're still part of something which is fundamentally, that's a massive thing from a commercial broker point of view, starting out for the first time. Because I have experienced that firsthand. I've seen a commercial broker starting up, and I know how they felt at the time of being unsupported, didn't feel as though they were connected. There was a lot of phone calls and really not getting hold of anybody. Whereas from what you're saying, and I get that because I've experienced that and seen that firsthand, what you're offering is such a wealth of sort of comfort and support from a new broker's point of view, to actually thinking I'm part of something, even though it's just me or I'm doing something for a firm and they're trying to do commercial for the first time. You're still part of, you're not sort of pushed to one side, you're part of the AR support that you're giving, which is absolutely huge, Mark. It is, and it's just a big thing, a big USP.
I think there's a lot of difference. I mean, I'm signed up to the emails that come up to the kind of the franchise emails, and I'll get commercial finance franchises emailing me out, etc. We're just so distant from that. The thing with us is, if we can get you, yes, it's chicken and egg. We obviously have to sign people up to work with us, so we have to find a way of doing that. But ultimately, it's then about you doing business. It's not all about getting you signed up and then, right, see ya. You've had your training day. There's your PDF. Let us know if you need anything, but probably not until next year when we renew your thanks. But it's not about that. I think my favourite marketing picture that I use for any of the posts that I do about this, and it's one that I used to see from networking, but it's the one where that you've got the person in the middle, which is you, and a kind of obviously a red colour or whatever it is, but you've got a lot of them people standing around them. They've got that network around them. And that's kind of what we try to give. There's a lot of us internally that can help you in lots of different areas of the business, be it from how to market yourself. I mean, some of the most recent white labeling we've done is actually white labeling our own marketing materials for other brokers to use as they come on board. Because essentially, if I've got a flyer that tells you what Fiducia Commercial Solutions does as a brokerage, these guys can do exactly the same. So we've white labeled that so they can go out and say, look, we're FCA authorized. We deal with, the high street, the specialists, the challengers, etc. We deal in all these different areas of finance, but it's something as a new company you don't necessarily have. Just in the same way as we need introducers. So I'll go out and talk to accountants in my area, or maybe bigger networks of accountants or other types of businesses who I think might be kind of mutual benefit in being able to work with us. New businesses are going to be looking for introducers to them as well on the commercial side of things if they don't necessarily have a natural large organic network to kind of get introductions from. So we give them that marketing material as well.
Okay, so if I'm a broker, mortgage broker, owner of a firm, thinking I'm interested in understanding more about AR and going down the AR route, what is the process you take sort of new brokers through, like from an application? What does that look like? What's the process with the FCA and things like that?
Well, the process with the FCA is a long one, but I think that's universal.
That's pretty standard.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they're back in their offices in Canary Wharf yet, but that's kind of 10 to 12 weeks. But I get it with us. It's a bit of a strap line. It's we do all the legwork for you, but once you get past an initial set of documentation, which is all around the due diligence that we have to do and the references that we have to take, and just taking a look at the background and the character of the people that are wanting to join, etc. And obviously, coming from a residential mortgage business, we've got great confidence in the fact that people are CMAP and FCA registered, etc. already. So we go through that. We then put together the commercial terms that we might have agreed for someone to work with us on. Put that together. Go through the kind of the FCA long form and the other bits of documentation that's needed, and then we get on with it. I think that at the moment, as I said, it's about a 10 to 12 week period at the moment. That we have, that frames it quite nicely for us, because while that's going on, then we have to look at the training that's required before people come on. So, we will have some standardized whole day, or depending whether it's remote, hopefully it's going back to kind of more in person. We can basically see what people need, how many are joining at the same time, etc. And we tailor that to a whole business setup side of things. It could be, though, that we've got 2 or 3 people joining from a practice where actually other colleagues of theirs are doing the setup and the email footers and how to market and so on. They're just there to learn about the products. So we'll customize it a bit. But we'll have a series of training sessions, as it were, so that once we reach the point at which they can go live, they've got their FCA authorization, and we can put them live on insurance, then they're ready to kind of hit the ground running. And we'll have talked to them about the sort of business they're thinking about, that they will be seeing first, what their standard referrals are, what they'll be going out marketing for. We'll try to, as I said, we've got a very broad brush in the types of finance we can offer, but we'll make sure people are as prepared as possible for day one when a likely inquiry comes along. There isn't qualifications. I always feel very underqualified talking to someone like yourself and the kind of resi mortgage brokers that are CMAP and have had to have exams and everything else. That's not what the commercial finance market is about. We have to, from 2 different points, we're vouching for you with the FCA, so we need to make sure we're not putting someone out there that's going to put our business at risk. So we need to make sure that you're of character and that we've trained you to know what you're doing and looking for when you're out there. And I think commercially, unless we're going to dedicate a load of resources once you're actually on day 1, day 2, day 3, if you send someone out there unprepared, you can spend a lot of time on the phone with them on every single case that comes through their door. So from our perspective, it's commercially, it's in our interest to make sure that we invest time up front, so that as they get going and build, they're going to need less and less support on the kind of the basic day-to-day stuff.
Don't understand and totally get you with that, and I think that's it. We wrapped around all that, like you said, that you've got the support, but it's bespoke to them and what they want to do, because you want them to go out there and feel confident in terms of what they're doing, and it will sort of, that's going to showcase you and your brand as well as their brand as well. So it's important that they are trading as confident as they can be and supported while they're out there in the marketplace. So, Mark, is there anything else that we haven't covered that you wanted to talk about that we've missed off or anything like that?
I'll probably only remember it in about an hour, but at the moment, I think we're sort of covered it. But I appreciate the opportunity to go through. There is a bit of a process, really, of kind of what we do, how we work with people day to day, and if people do enough of that type of business, how we can work with them longer term. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk it through. Thank you.
No, I appreciate it, Marcus. I think it's just another option from a mortgage broker's point of view. So there's the referral opportunity and working with you guys from a referral point of view, the trust, integrity, and all those things. But then as well, the opportunity to be an AR as well, which is not really publicized a lot, and it's not really out there in the marketplace as much as what it should be, really. So I thank you for giving your honest opinion on how you work, how Fiducia work, what you are as a person. I think that's sort of been a big benefit for everybody listening to clearly understand the 2 business models, really, basically, that I've got to look at, the referral or becoming an AR. So, but Mark, I totally understood what your business model is, what Fiducia business models are, and really what my options are, what I want to do. And I'm guessing we will tag you, when this goes out, you'll get tagged in, people can reach out for you, LinkedIn, I'm guessing, find you through the Fiducia website as well, which again, so we'll get that into there as well. So people will be able to reach out for you. And I'm guessing that you are welcome for people to reach out to you and talk to you further.
100%. I think LinkedIn is a great place to do it. For anyone unfortunate enough to be connected with me, I do post out daily during the week with but it's not a big salesy blurb. It's informational. But yeah, no, definitely, I welcome that either through the Fiducia site, but generally LinkedIn's a good place to connect and just kind of pick up the discussion and see how we can help anyone.
Fine. We'll make sure you get your LinkedIn profile tagged in on all the social platforms that this goes out to. So, Mark, thanks ever so much again for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate yours. Thank you very much.